for milling the wood, getting it ready to use. The joint board is the joiner. So this right here is an 8-inch joiner that we have. We have basically the controls to turn it on and off right here. You can adjust the fence, but pretty much almost all the time we'll keep it here at 90 degrees, so that way we're cutting everything square. But you can change it to 45, different angles depending on what you have. And then the most important part is right here is the depth of the cut. So how much wood are you cutting off each time to get it to a certain height. So this part right here, you loosen it, move up and down, and then move this whole right side up and down to get whatever depth of the cut you have. So I'm setting this up for 1/8 of an inch. So each pass is going to cut about 1/8 of an inch off your edge of wood. Now this side never moves. It always stays a little bit higher. This is always even with the cutting head. So that way when it goes through, it has a flat, smooth surface to stay on, so it doesn't get bent or anything and cut incorrect. Another thing you have here is your guard that protects where the blade is. So you're going to be pushing through, and then the cutter head is right here, which I'll show you close up. So underneath the guard, you can see it has a helical spiral cutting head, just like the planer, and you can use it through. So you can push pieces through to cut along the face if needed to. If they're warped a little bit, this will help you straighten them out. Also, most of the time we'll use it just on the edge, up against that fence, to make it perfectly square. Another thing that it does have is it has a connection for dust collection, but due to the placement in the shop, it's not really a great place to hook it up. So it will make a mess over here, and that we have to clean up. So again, I have my S2S piece that are into the planer, perfectly smooth on both sides. Now I'm going to worry about this edge and try to get this edge perfectly smooth. As you can see here. So on here, there's really not too much of a gap, so this one's already pretty straight. But then we need to do this. So I'm going to turn it on, do a couple passes through. Still rough and hasn't been cut or anything like that. And then you go over to this side, and you can see it's nice and smooth, just like the top and the bottom. So now I have something that's S3S. This side right here is good. Those two. I don't really need to join this side, because most likely I'm going to take this piece and cut it through the table saw to whatever length I need. So I'm just going to leave it like this until I run it through the table saw for my project. So another great thing that the planer does, you can see that on this side it's all the way up against the ground, on the left side over here it's all the way up against the board, but you can see there's a gap here in the middle. So by running it through the planer a couple times, you'll see that that'll smooth it out, and then you can put this piece on here and there won't be any gap like this. See, there's not really much of a gap anymore. Another useful thing that the joiner can do is clean up the face of the wood. Let's say you don't have a planer. So there's nothing you can do to make this really nice and smooth and clean it up. And again, this is a kind of weather piece. This is a piece of cedar that's been outside. It's got some sun damage and stuff. You'll see that once I clean it up, you'll have a nice good color. If you are doing the face of it, I suggest using some push blocks to push it through. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put pressure down right where the blades are. So I'm basically going to keep the clean edge that I just did up against the fence, so I know that it's square, and then I'm just going to push it through, mainly keeping it up against the fence, not pushing down on the piece. That cedar has, and some of the sapwood. Alright, so I'll do this side so you can see it gets cleaned up again. You get those pinkish browns, and most of them, they'll be this color. They'll eventually basically get more of a brownish color as they age. So a couple things that you need to know for the rules of a joiner. One is when you're pushing through, you never want to put your finger on the back side of the thumb and push it through. Because again, once you get to here, you're right where the blades are. And you never want your hands directly above where the blades are. So you never want to put your finger on the behind part right here to push it through. Now, if it's over here to get it started, that's fine. But anytime it gets close to the blade, we want to use that push block to push it through. So what I would think about is, again, this kind of is where the guard starts. So your hand should never be there. Plus, it shows you up top here where the blade is. So you want to make sure your hand is never directly above that, unless you have a push block in your hand. You never want to adjust the outfeed table. It's set up at the height of the blades, so this never gets adjusted. So don't adjust that. The material that you cut has to be at least 10 inches long, shouldn't be any shorter than that. It also has to be at least 1/4 of an inch thick, so it's not going to be any shorter than that as well. Alright, so one thing you'll see is that you might have a rough edge, or after you glue some cutting boards together, they're not perfectly straight on this edge like this. You never run the edge through the joiner. So I know people want to do this, we do that. It's not designed for cutting the edges like that. It'll grab and pull your piece and won't cut it all the way through, or chip out. It won't look nice. So you should not be using the joiner on the edge of a piece of wood. You can use that on the miter saw to cut it smooth and flush.